You're listening to the ADHD Support Talk Radio podcast. ADHD Support Talk Radio is sponsored by addclasses.com. Sign up now for a free webinar by going to www.addclasses.com. This is your co-host, Tara McGillicuddy, and I want to start by wishing you a happy 2020. And I'm back today with a new episode to talk to you about owning your truth and being realistic. And I think this is one of the most important things you can do and you can focus on before just about anything else when it comes to making changes in your life. And as I'm recording this, it's the very beginning of 2020, so a lot of us are still in that New Year's resolution, New Year's change mindset. And if you're listening to this at any other time, this makes sense too. So this isn't just about the new year. This is about making changes anytime in your life. So what do I mean by owning your truth? A lot of us want to make changes. We want things to be different in our life, but we haven't fully come to terms with our beliefs, our mindset, our way of thinking. We're taught things should be a certain way. We want to live like everyone else, or we've tried to live like everyone else. I don't know if we actually want to, but we've been conditioned and programmed to think and believe a certain way. And sometimes we just don't, no matter how hard we try, we can't, we won't, we don't. So it can become impossible to make changes when we haven't really come to terms, owned our own truth. And I'm going to talk about an example. Back a while ago, my co-host Lynn Idris did a podcast episode titled The Perfect Calendar for People with ADHD or something on that along those lines. I don't know if the word's correct. And we had one person, or it may have been a couple of people, I think it was just one person, who was extremely triggered by this episode. He left comments, he I think emailed us, was really angry that he listened to this podcast episode and he was expecting Lynn to tell him what the perfect calendar was, like whether it was a paper calendar or a specific type of calendar. And the concept of the episode was there really is no perfect calendar, it's the one you'll use. And this person was really angry. I mean, he left negative comments on iTunes, on wherever else, because he hated calendars. Calendars didn't work for him. That was his mindset. That was his belief. But people kept telling him, okay, you need to use a calendar. So this person really somewhat owned his truth that he hates calendars. But what would be helpful is to be realistic and be like, okay, I don't believe calendars work for me. I hate calendars. I haven't had great experience with calendars. And I'm just kind of going to accept that for now. But let's also look at the other part of this. Calendars are an important tool to help me get my bills paid on time. Calendars are an important tool so I know my appointments, so I can get paid, so I can, not get in trouble, so I can get places on time, whatever else it is. And from there, what you could do is like, okay, I understand calendars are an important tool, but I don't think I really want to use one. I don't believe they work for me. So own that. From there, you can decide, okay, am I going to stay with accept the fact that calendars don't work for me? Or am I going to try to change my way of thinking? If you're going to try to change your way of thinking, all right, maybe it's time to do some type of cognitive behavioral type therapy on calendars. Maybe it's time to work with a coach to find the right calendar. Maybe I'm going to listen to affirmations about the fact that calendars are helpful. Or this person could decide that, you know what, I'm okay with the fact that calendars don't work for me. I'm going to put my energy elsewhere. And you know what I might do? I know calendars work. They just really don't work for me, and I'm not going to put that time and energy in making them work for me. But what I can do is I can hire somebody else to manage my calendar. or I can barter with somebody to be my calendar manager or an assistant or whatever else it is. So this is, two ways of dealing with it. But first, owning the fact that, okay, calendars don't work for me. I'm not going to put my time and effort into calendars. Or the other thing is, calendars don't work for me, but maybe I can do some type of work with somebody or do some type of therapy or mindfulness or whatever else it is to make them work for me. But going back to the topic of this podcast episode, the main thing is to kind of own your truth. So think about, if you're looking to make changes, have you been truthful about things? Like another big one for people with ADHD can be getting places on time and being punctual. But in order to do that, your truth has to be that it's important for you to get places on time. And there are people that, there's been repercussions, consequences, but in their mind, they really don't buy the fact that it's important to get places on time for them. They've kind of got through life and been okay. So that's the thing. If you don't buy into the fact that being places on time and being punctual is a necessity, is a priority, is important, you're more than likely not going to get places on time. So that's something, and it really is in life, it's important to be places on time. So that might be really to look at, okay, what's going on in my life when I haven't been places on time? Or the opposite of that, how has my life been different? How have I benefited when I did get someplace on time? So, and that's one of the things with the calendar. You can kind of change. You can be okay with not using the calendar yourself, but getting places on time, that's something that probably makes more sense to really change your way of thinking, your mindset, your belief about time. But once you can do that, once you change your belief about being places on time, about being punctual, then from there you can use the tools, or you can change your other beliefs that I can't get there on time. Yeah, you probably can. It's just, number one, changing your belief about that it is important, and then changing your mindset about getting places on time. And that's another example. Self-care is a big thing for a lot of us with ADHD. Getting enough sleep, eating the right type of food, moving your body. And those are ones that changing your truth, changing your belief and your mindset is essential to moving forward with those. Sleep is a big one. And if you've heard of Roberto Olivares on my podcast or other people's resources, he talks about his own experience with sleep, and he's a psychologist and he's become a sleep expert when it comes to ADHD and just sleep in general. And he shares his belief was that he didn't believe sleep was important to him. So for him, he had to, in addition to getting a sleep study and changing his sleep hygiene, buy in, change his mindset, change his belief that sleep is important. And so whether it's sleep, whether it's exercise, whether it's whatever else in your life, and I'm just giving examples. These might not be things in your own life, but first own it. First come to the terms that, what is your belief? What is your mindset? And even if 99.9% of the people believe something different than you, it's okay. First, be realistic, be truthful, be okay with, I think differently than everyone else. And then from there, what are you going to do about that? Are you going to be okay with your belief, keep it the same way with your mindset? Or are you going to make changes? Whether it's, cognitive therapy, coaching, affirmations, mindfulness, journaling, whatever it is, there's 1,000,001 choices, options for you to do it. But making changes, being successful, thriving in 2020, or whenever you're listening to this, it's really important to own your own truth, be realistic about what's going on right now. Because if you don't, more than likely, you're going to continue bumping into those walls when it comes to moving forward and making changes. So my challenge for you is to just take a few minutes and think about what in your life right now, what are the changes you've been trying to make? And what is your truth about these changes? If you really dislike something, be okay with that. If you believe it's not going to work for you, be okay with that. Maybe write a few things down, maybe do a journal, get it out of your head. And I really hope this was helpful. And thank you so much for listening. And if you find this podcast helpful, I really want to ask for your help and ask you to maybe leave a comment or a review on iTunes, because the more people that see it, the more helpful it's going to be for everyone else.